Are the Indiana Pacers already the biggest losers of the 2025 offseason? We'll talk a little bit about that today. And the Pacers having a surprising backup plan to replace Myles Turner. We're also going to talk about the Lakers and what their next steps could be as well. And a look at an injury to Jaren Jackson Jr. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Darren Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start off talking a little bit about the Indiana Pacers. I know usually we focus on morning episodes on news from the night. I was going to come in and do a winners and losers of day two of free agency, which I think the winner is clear. Like the Milwaukee Bucks have won day two of free agency. They won yesterday, right? Like getting Myles Turner, waiving Dame Lillard, the series of moves that they made after that just to add more clarity to their team. We'll talk a little bit about them more at the end of the show. But I think there's been one glaring, big, huge loser so far in the offseason. Now, some of it's been in their control, some of it wasn't. And that's the Indiana Pacers. When you look at the run that the Pacers went on in the playoffs last year, Tyrese Halliburton hitting the game-winning shot in every series, right? The moments that they had, the New York Knicks moment with the choking moment and all that, like forcing it to 7 games with the OKC Thunder, a team that was looked at on paper to be much better than most people. Like there are people, my co-host over on Locked on Bulls, Pat, said Thunder in 3. That's how confident he was of how that series is going to end up going. And the Pacers to have that story of a playoff run. And then when Tyrese Halliburton went down, when that Achilles popped and everybody saw it after the calf injuries that he was dealing with, we already knew that the story, the amazing story that was there for the Indiana Pacers was all done. Now, little did I know that it was going to be the actual finality of that version of the Pacers team. Keep in mind, the Pacers and the Celtics are both two teams that had their best players went down with Achilles injuries, right? And they've taken two completely different paths. The Celtics who have basically said, we're keeping our core. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. We are keeping that core together. Yes, we're going to get under the second tax apron because we're not going to be a championship team next year, but it's with the goal of restructuring the roster and being in a position where we can put a solid team around our 4 core players and be ready to go once Jason Tatum is back healthy to go on a championship run. The Pacers on the other side of that went in a completely different path than that, letting Myles Turner walk, but not only walk away, but go to an in-conference rival. That's crazy, an in-division rival at that, not even just in the same Eastern Conference, in your division. You're now going to see Myles Turner 4 times a year at minimum play with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And when you look at through the 10 years that Myles Turner was with that team, 8 of those years he was probably in trade talks? 9 of them maybe, right? You know, he's been a player that's been in trade rumors for forever. And, you know, the initial conversation, right, I think around game 5 or 6 in the finals was that the Pacers were going to be willing to go into the luxury tax to keep Myles Turner. Now, I'm not against them changing for that, but whereas the Boston Celtics look to trade off other pieces to be able to keep their core, right, and trade off other contracts, the Pacers lost a member that's been part of the core. Make no mistake about it. Like, Myles Turner did not have the best, finals. He did not have the best finals. You know, it was a little bit questionable when it came down to that and how he performed in the finals. But the Pacers have gone the complete, utter, and different path with that. They've now let Myles Turner walk. They now do not have what Isaiah Jackson's penciled in as their starting center. They don't have Tyrese Halliburton for the majority of next season. So now you're looking at, Ben Mathurin to get a chance to develop under that team. Nesmith as well to continue to take steps up and see what those guys are going to do now in this season. They do own their own first-round pick in 2026, so no matter how this season works out for them, they'll be able to have that pick outright. So if they do wind up in the lottery in a deep draft, hey, they can find somebody that's going to help them keep their path going, and maybe that's their thing. But I don't think there's any question that as of right now, maybe they could be winners in the 2026 offseason, but so far this season, they're losers. And I don't know how anybody would really make a case for anything otherwise for this Indiana Pacers team if you're having a real conversation about it. They are the biggest losers of the offseason. Whereas like a team like the Miami Heat, who's just not really taken apart. I don't even know if the Heat Is Pat Riley sleep somewhere in his office? Has the old age kicked in? Because maybe Pat Riley just doesn't know that the offseason's going on. Maybe that's the thing that has to be going on here, because I don't understand how the hell the Miami Heat have completely punted on an offseason where they need something there, but that's a story for another day. But the Pacers, you just cannot deny that the Pacers are the biggest losers of this offseason when you look at what their season was last year. And don't forget, they started off the season a little bit rocky last year, right? But now the fact that you are now coming into an offseason where it is just all bad for you so far, and it sucks. But you got some young players on that team. You got Neesmith, you got Nembhard, you got Ben Mathurin, all those players are like 22 and younger when it comes down to it. So you still got some young, really good talent on here. Pascal. Now, if they go and trade Pascal, I'm going to change them from losers of the offseason to idiots of the offseason, to be quite honest with you. No, that's not fair. Depending on what the deal could look like when it comes down to that, right? But yeah, the Pacers at this point, when it comes down to it, they prioritize them not paying the luxury tax over keeping a player whose production has, been good for them. Now, his production did fall off the cliff during the final series. 10.6 points per game, 4.4 rebounds on 37% shooting from the field and 21% shooting from three. That's bad. That's bad against, and you needed better from Myles Turner when it came down to that. But when you look at what Myles Turner has been for that team, that's not easily going to be replaceable. And I'm not saying this just because of the Myles Turner. Like I said, the Tyrese Halliburton thing played a part into it as well. There's no doubt that the Pacers, who I thought that if they kept Myles Turner, could still compete for a playoff spot in the East, they've definitely taken several steps down now when it's all said and done. So we got to see what the future holds for this Pacers team. We'll be watching it and reviewing it all here. But reportedly, the Pacers are interested in Deandre Ayton. Apparently, the Lakers maybe aren't as focused on Deandre Ayton as what was initially thought. I had it when it came out that he was going to be a Laker. But Ayton, who now I think is coming up on being able to sign with the team sometime today, it's still likely. Jeff Fisher did say it's still likely that he ends up on the Lakers, but apparently to Jake Fisher is that the Pacers do have an interest in Deandre Ayton, and as a one-year stopgap, I can understand that. I don't think that that's going to be your long-term answer with Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe it is. I don't see it, but that's the case that could be made here. Maybe the Pacers are just going to wait for after the second wave of free agency and start picking off some of the players that didn't find their teams, and just because of where they are, manage it that way. And maybe that's what could be here so far. But then I want to switch to another team that I can't necessarily say has lost the offseason, but I do think that it's more confusion this offseason than what I initially expected coming into this season. And that is like the Lakers. What are the Lakers doing, right? Right now, the Lakers, that we know that they needed a center coming into this one. They basically gave up on Dorian Finney-Smith, didn't even reportedly really try to match the offer or anything that he got there, so he's gone. They didn't trade for Mark Williams, who he went to the Suns, right? Dorian Finney-Smith's gone. A player that they were reportedly interested in, Brook Lopez, is gone as well, right? So what's happening here? What's happening with the Lakers, right? A team that you got Luka Doncic basically gifted to you, and now you are trying to reportedly, try to build that team around Luka. It came out the other day that they're setting up to have max cap space in 2027. I'm sorry, but you got gifted Luka Doncic, and now you're sitting there, you're going to punt for 2 years until you can make a move in the summer of 2027? That can't be the case for the Lakers. It just can't be for a team that, once they get their star, they're pretty much, they like to go hard for it. But, reportedly the DeAndre Ayton thing is still something that's on the table for him. Make no mistake about it. But reportedly that they are also targeting Nick Richards, Yves Missi as well in trade talks to try to find their center. Now, I'll say this. With the Pelicans getting Derek Queen, maybe Yves Missi is a little bit more available. But I'll tell you what, if he is and the Lakers get him, I know he's only a one-year player, but he brings so much of the grit, the dirty work that a team like the Lakers needs. Now, I don't know how much of a lob threat that he's going to be in the traditional sense, but when you talk about just tough nose centers that rebound, play hard in the paint, those type of things, Yves Missi brings a lot of that, and I wouldn't mind him here on this Lakers team for sure. Nick Richards with the Suns seems like he may be phased out with them getting Kaman Malawak as well as Mark Williams and Rasheer Fleming for that matter. So maybe that's a really good pick for them to look to pivot towards as well when it comes down to it. So the Lakers have other options that are there for them, especially seeing as how there's going to be some competition for DeAndre Ayton if the Lakers are trying to get him. Unless he just wants to go there. Shares the same agent with Luka Doncic, so there could be some things that are going on there, but we shall see. The Lakers, though, are another team that I'm looking at and saying, what are you doing? But we'll see what the Lakers are doing. I just think that I expected the Lakers to be a little bit more aggressive this offseason. Austin Reeves not signing this contract, going to probably go to unrestricted free agency so he can get more money. There's a lot going on there of what's up with the Lakers. And the Lakers now have gone from a team that, like, I very much so expected to be very aggressive this offseason to a team that looks like they're just trying to find something to keep together as they look to just have a solid team as best as they can next year. And maybe they don't have the expectations. They won 50 games last season, right? And, with acquiring Luka Doncic mid-season, like, I know that there's some questions around LeBron and trades and what he wants his future to be and things like that. But, like, this is a team that I expected to be more aggressive this offseason that just is, for the most part, punted. And we'll see if that ends up paying off for them. Deandre Ayton if he ends up going there, hell, if they end up trading for Yves Missy, I would say that, those are more in line with the moves that I kind of expected from them. It's still a little shocking to see how passive they've been this offseason, at least for me. You guys can let me know how you feel on that down below. Lastly, Jaren Jackson Jr., who got a $240 million contract extension, now has turf toe. Now, I don't think that this is as serious as some people made it. Of course, hearing that, something that he dealt with, during a live basketball run is something that he's had before. But, like, hearing a major injury after signing a new contract always raises the ears of basketball fans as far as, like, what's going on there. There's no timetable for his return right now. Foot injuries are something that's very scary, especially for big men. Foot injuries are something that could really turn into something that, takes a longer amount of time for, like, a guard than for a big man that suffers a foot injury like that. And so, now with him getting the money that he got, they're still waiting and seeing an approach on Ja Morant. It really does hurt whatever they're hoping to happen, with him suffering an injury at this point, this soon after. Now, hopefully it's something that can be dealt with by the start of the season. We have a few months into training camp open, so there's more than enough time for him to heal and recover from that, no doubt. But he's going to have to really work on that. And, I'm sure that the Memphis Grizzlies are hoping for an injury hoping for an injury-free season as much as possible, as every NBA team is. But the last thing you want is, after you signed a player to $240 million, is for them to suffer an injury only a couple of days later. You don't want to see that. So, we'll see what happens. Jaren Jackson Jr., go sit your big ass down, my boy. Chill out. You got paid. Chill out. Be ready for the season, and we'll see what happens. Lastly, though, the Milwaukee Bucks, who I just said, won day 2 of free agency handedly. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that. And the question is did they do enough for Giannis to want to stay there and be committed to staying there long term? And this one came out from Shams, who said this: I'm told Giannis Antetokounmpo will continue to evaluate everything the entire offseason. He took notice of this move today, no doubt, but sources tell me he will evaluate more than just one day. At the end of the offseason, Giannis will ask himself, he'll look into the mirror and look around him and ask the question, can I win a second championship with this team as currently constructed? So it seems like if the Milwaukee Bucks were hoping that this move that they made to get Myles Turner here, in the series of moves, in that matter, that they made yesterday, if that was going to be enough to get Giannis to buy in on what this team could be, seems like that answer as it stands right now is a no, dog. He's not necessarily seeing it, and I can't blame him for that. And like I said before, with this Giannis thing, it's going to be something that it's going to continually evolve. It's going to be something that you look at and you say, all right, just because I'm okay now, maybe I'm not asking for a trade at the beginning of the season. Let's reevaluate midseason. All right, midseason, I still feel pretty confident. Oh, wait, postseason. Did we just get eliminated in the first round? We're gonna get back to the drawing table in the offseason. So it's a year-by-year thing. Hell, maybe a month-by-month thing when it comes down to it for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. And like I said on yesterday's show, that is a spot that they're going to have to be put in, and they're going to have to look at, and we'll see what happens in the future there. But, overall, I still got to commend the Bucks for getting creative, being willing to waive and stretch Dame to get Myles Turner in that building. And now you just got to hope that it's going to be enough for the Milwaukee Bucks to want to, for Giannis to want to see what this Milwaukee Bucks team can continue to be. Jericho Sims re-signed there. They made some moves. Gary Harris is now there as well to add some shooting off the bench, even though he's not as consistent as a player. So you made some moves yesterday. Now you got to go hope that those moves end up paying off for you in the season. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. That's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video, probably later on today. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.